line, and you shoot from, like, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever, and then you from where you commonly make your shot, you make that your money shot. Like Damian Lillard is looking at the basket on the right hand, stepped about like a foot away from the 3-point line because he shoots so much power. So most of his made free throws are way beyond the arc, but they're all on that. If it was a clock, I guess it would be 8 o'clock. Between 8 and 7 is where
favorite spot.
That's a sweet spot.
Sweet spot.
Yeah.
Start recording while you're talking.
I could tell.
Figured to make it more candid. Candid conversations. You guys could do a little bit, I think. It's like it's uncomfortably close, so that's when I get this actually set
Hey,
up.
buddy. How you doing?
Let's tilt that over. There we go.
It's the legs that are uncomfortably close. I got my knees in your crotch.
It's all good. We got a healthy bromance going here. No awkwardness.
Disgusting slut dragon.
Rick and Morty season 4. Man, it's good. It's really good. Really good at pushing boundaries. Good stuff in there. Okay, why don't we start with that? We don't have an agenda here. This is just casual conversations. This may go into the archive. This may get uploaded. We'll see. Casual.
Good spaceman here, touching down.
This is before Space Jesus knew he didn't need a spacesuit.
The spacesuit's just a
open
metaphor.
it up. You're gonna have Space Jesus face out here, long hair coming out, big long beard. Space Jesus, like gotcha. Rick and Morty. What's your favorite episode? Why?
Oh, my favorite episode. Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know. Okay, so it's not because the episode is that good, but it's the end that like really gets me every time. And it's the Unity episode where he meets up with his ex-girlfriend, which is a hive mind named Unity, and she like takes over a planet, and they rekindle their old relationship, and she ends up leaving him because it's Rick, of course. He's fucking too much. He's fucking raw. He's Rick Sanchez, but at the end he like goes into the garage and like gets this tinkering fucking contraption out, and then gets this little dude out of the freezer and like brings him back to life. And then he puts in this crystal and like destroys this little life that he brought from the freezer, and then he sets it up again and he puts it in between his in his temples to execute himself. And the music they're playing, Jerry's out there with the weed whacker, like fucking hitting the edge of the concrete and shit, and Rick's in there about to kill himself.
What's that dramatic music too? Like it was really
it's the music.
sober.
It's the way they directed it, and it's like, and then he like passes out before the machine hits him. But just the music, so like the end of every episode, it's like, here comes the guy. It's like, damn, Rick.
See, it's funny because Rick is smartest man in the universe, right? Or
smartest mammal.
Smartest mammal, he calls it.
No, people call him a bunch of stuff. He forgets the word human all the time.
It's funny because he is one though.
Yeah.
And he may be the smartest mammal in the universe, but he's still obviously even from episode he's drunk all the time. There's still pain he's avoiding because even in his nervous system. Doesn't matter how. So this is where smart people get really tripped up, is they don't understand the value of their own emotions. Even autistic or Asperger people, it's almost an overwhelming stimulus of emotions with growing up. So they learn, find ways to sort of stimulate and to focus. Adderall or different things that would help, or marijuana or cannabis or different things. That they learn to tune out, I think, a lot of the emotions. But so it's different process cognitively, probably for them. But people in general let their own, what they think is smart or wise, to keep those emotions in check or control, so they can still be the smartest mammal in the universe or whatever. Superman
does a really good job of that in their storyline, like Clark Kent when he's growing up and he's like coming into his powers. And
which I'm trying to, because as you tell me stories, even the Rick and Morty, I rewatch the episode as you're telling it in my mind, right? Okay, so what canon are you talking about?
So the newest Superman with our most current Superman, his first debut,
the guy who looks totally white bread Superman.
He kills it part. Yeah. They did physically they did a great job. That dude's upper body, he could have been Captain America too. Yeah. But it's great Superman because he does good. He gets angry in it, but his mom, he freaks out in school, in class, and he starts seeing through everybody. He's getting his X-ray vision in, and he flips out, panics, and runs out and hides himself and locks himself in a broom closet. And his mom comes down to the school, and she knocks at the door. She's talking to him, and he's like, "I can't do it." He's like, "It's just too much," and she says, I want you to just focus on my voice. My voice is an island, just my voice. Can you see my voice on the island? Come to my voice. Yeah. And it hits him, and instantly he everything disappears, and he focuses in on his mom's voice, and just how well they did with that scene in grasping the emotion of anybody, everyday life, not Superman or a normal person, finding that one person, that one voice, that island you can focus in on when you're overwhelmed, and it like gives you that bliss of just Trinity and Nirvana, and it's just like perfect. And they did a great job of like making a really short, scene and like nailing it just completely.
Which allows him to not become, would you say it's a new show? Where it's like Superman, if you grew up in today's trauma culture?
Brightburn.
Okay.
Yeah, that shit was like...
So taking that moment you're talking about, that's the difference of having people
huge.
around you, parents or family or uncles or whatever, family, friends or teachers or just someone in your life at the right fucking moment, man, that pulls you out of the darkest places, that give you some level of hope to come back, to keep going, right? Find solutions, find healing through whatever it's causing you to hide in the closet.
Yeah.
What's really interesting, I remember reading, I think it's in the book called Captivating. There's a series by John Eldredge, a Christian couple. John Eldredge is Wild at Heart, and then his wife and him co-wrote, or she wrote primarily a book called Captivating. And it's about the different ways that men and women's hearts react to trauma, basically, growing up. And so you have, like they were talking about, they were talking about their marriage. They use a lot of their marriage stories, which always makes it really personal and more meaningful, I think. But I think when they got in arguments in the first part of their marriage, first couple of years or whatever, 10 years, like a long time, they didn't know what to do with it. Like when they got in intense arguments, she'd go hide in the closet like a child, like in the fetal position and cry.
With a bottle of wine.
And like could not, no, if that was the case, she didn't mention that, but like could be. But everybody's got their own deal. But like hiding in the closet, it just reminds me of that. There's so many things, like you don't realize that. People, I think a lot of times don't realize that going into relationships, that there's a lot of trauma that we don't even realize is in us until we're in a committed, long-term, living with someone else relationship, marriage or not. I think marriage draws those things out sometimes more intensely because now you've made a commitment for life, better or worse, and your subconscious is like, all right, we're gonna test this shit, better or worse, huh? Blah, like new traumas come out, right?
Or old traumas that are
old traumas that haven't played out in your life.
Resurfaced traumas,
and sometimes they're ones that literally happen. A lot of times, childhood abuse and things comes out, especially if it happened before the age of 7, because you have no way to. You have to dissociate from that. Yeah. Your little psyche has no way to handle that level of violation. In its psyche and its being, its soul. So a lot of times in the 30s and 40s, that those mental barriers will start to break down. They'll have nightmares of this abuse or dreams or just during the day, and it'll get, like the counselor who helped me through the stuff I went through, she said it almost ruined her marriage because she didn't know where it was coming from. She was awful. I mean, she was just awful to everybody, as if everybody was the perpetrator, kind of.
Yeah.
Like subconsciously, just getting vile and bitter.
Talk
and
about
angry.
Somebody leaving an imprint on you.
No doubt. And it didn't come out for 30 years. That's why it's so wicked. That's another aspect, and then people don't know why that's happening to them. And then if they're even willing to deal with facing those memories, which is a feat in and of itself, because it's not once, but the first time you do it's the hardest. After that, it's always easier. It just is. Because you can process through it. Like we've talked about, every time you think about a memory, every memory you have is only as old as the last time you thought about it, neurologically, in our vessel, in our constant full awareness. So the more you dive into a memory viscerally, well, like we were, the one time where I was grilling you about the one memory that was a concrete memory.
Oh yeah, we were trying to define and describe what the definition.
And why to you that is so concrete.
Memory.
It actually happened, and it happened this way for sure. Versus kind of, I kind of remember this, but then my mom fills in the details. So that was 5.
Instead of
like
sort of a fluidity of a memory, because little details can kind of fluctuate. But typically when it's a concrete memory, it's that those little details don't really fluctuate. They stay on a steady line.
Yeah.
But it's still, you kind of conversed me in a way that I was like, okay, it's not really technically concrete. It's still fluid.
Yeah.
It's like wet concrete. It's like it could be solidified if you really worked on it.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, like when people hide in closets, it's kind of ironic that people would go to a closet because those feelings of fear and anxiety and whatever that make us feel like we're in a prison, right? So where do we put ourselves? In a prison, in a box. Like you're so overwhelmed with this, like being held hostage to these emotions.
Now think about this
you put yourself in
a prison.
Physical prison.
And the incredible irony in that is it feels safe.
Yeah,
that's the irony.
That's the human experience right there in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And in America, and like giving away freedom via fear. Be like, okay, take some of my freedom here, some of my freedom here, some of my freedom here, because I'm scared, and I want you to give me those borders and those prisons because they make me feel safe.
And what's fair about that though? That's how we're wired. We're supposed to receive that from our families and our community. That you could weave through your community and know that it's safe. You don't have to worry about getting mugged or raped or like you don't have to worry about that stuff. So when you grow up in a society like that, in all the ways, because you can grow up in a society like that. I grew up in a better part of my life, I was probably lower middle class, like just at a poverty level right there. Like so, I grew up probably till I was 12, 13, and then 14, and then when my mom got married to my stepdad, then we upshifted upper middle class, whatever that is. And so I've lived that through a lot of my adulthood and been aware of that dynamic. And so, but my point is, I've grown in a pretty much safe environment. I wasn't worried about somebody mugging, even in the area I was in, I wasn't worried about somebody mugging me or really bad stuff happening. That being said, you still, like, especially where I grew up, there's so many screwed up families there, man. There's so many screwed up kids, you know, and beautiful kids too. All of us, we have our issues. But there's a lot of traumas I received from the kids in my neighborhood, right? Because of what they received in their homes. And that's me in a better than most white American upbringing. Really, and I have my own traumas. So if we grow up over it only takes 2 generations. Look how they broke down our history in 2 generations. It takes 2 generations to rebuild your own family nucleus, if you will, of healing and whatever they experience in the world. Say worst case scenario, your kid as they're growing up does get mugged, does get raped, something. You've got such a nexus of strength of healing and neurological, for us, rewiring, reprogramming, retraining those memories, but by bringing them to the surface and adding new emotions to them. Additional perspectives that help us process and integrate them instead of have to dissociate and run on all these protection programs, all these boxes.
Yeah, all these closets to tuck ourselves in.
So if you have a nucleus where no matter what happens in the outside world, they know if they can come home, they'll receive whatever they need to find healing or to get through that. That's how it should be. Right?
Should be.
Now, there is value in talking about how it should be. Well, it wasn't. You're right. So now we have to deal with all our own traumas. Okay, but it's equally valuable to envision what it should or could be like, or screw the world, what it will be like for me and my family. I will have an environment that I'm open enough to growing. Whatever my kids teach me, from coming from eternity way more recently than I did, and their neurology being able to literally access more of their nervous system that we've shut down, so they can intuitively tune into stuff if they feel like there's something going on in the yard, or they're seeing spirits or playing with spirits or entities or creatures or whatever. There's nothing wrong with it. They probably do. And guess what? They're not all evil. Like, geez, man, we create such a culture that anything unseen is first to be suspicious. I mean, you know, and it's probably evil. So put up your boundaries.
Well, it's because usually if you're hiding, you're something to hide.
That's what we've grown up in. We've learned that. We've learned that.
You know, it's also trial and error, and a lot of that's like shit's happened that's reinforced that. So it's hard to deny something when it's regularly reinforced.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a stigma or something that's actually not true.
Because it reinforces into our nervous system and creates programs that...
It reinforces the programs.
So here's the way new programs are created in our nervous system. It's through 3 routes. It's through repetition. Now, through when we're growing up, the first 7 years, it's through imprint. It's just imprint. It's nothing cognitive about it, really, for the first 7 years. And the first 3 years, last trimester, 2 years or so, delta state, brainwave state, which is like deep sleep. You're just absorbing the energy, the love from your mother or father or family, or hatred or envy, or you're literally absorbing how the world works. You're just absorbing it around you.
Resentment, that's a bad one with kids.
Yeah, all of it. And especially when it's directed at them, but even if it's at each other. That's why the most important relationship in any family is between the mother and father and how they honor each other. That's how the kids will learn how men and women should behave and treat each other, especially ones who love each other. Working through problems, not hiding every argument you have. Doesn't mean kids need to know every detail. But they see you get through that, because that gives them comfort, not only in the world when they face troubles. They've seen their parents get through like that's, my parents didn't have the greatest relational dynamic growing up. But because I've read so many books and I've now met so many families, I've been able to get from those storytelling, right, and how it heals neurology. Wow. Yeah. That's what we're missing. The oral historians.
Storyteller. We've talked about that many times.
Yeah.
It's funny because my mom was a storyteller growing up, but I couldn't tell if the stories were fact or fiction. Now looking back at it, I'm like, it kind of really doesn't matter now. It was just her telling stories.
Yeah.
And it was just fine, but I mean, her objective or her drive, the reason for telling the stories was not because she wanted to teach me a lesson. It was just my mom wanted to talk and make some grand, this story that gave her attention is what it is, and that's her program. She's got to deal with is that making up bullshit because it makes people go, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, storytelling is a medium, right? Like internet, like money. Oh, well, let's not touch money. It's a medium like the internet. It's an easy comparison. So it's an amoral medium, storytelling. It's a very effective one, though. You're trying to get this video out to the world right after we do it. Digital upload, internet, right? And it's the effect it has, but the medium is amoral. In the same way, storytelling can be amoral. You can tell stories in ways, because it's like, I think it's the most effective way to move the human heart, to rewire neurology, because a story will take all that infinity loop of our mind, chakras or energy centers, or just, if you want to call them physical things, for people who have a hard time with the spiritual, your brain, the neural tissue in your brain, the 60% neural tissue on your heart that's also at a 60-degree Fibonacci vortexing recursive angle, and then all the mess that's going on with your guts. I don't know about that, but it's like 33 feet.
Spaghetti.
There's a lot going on there, man. But the 400 million plus neurons they found there. So it really, and the thoughts, we've talked about this many times, but a lot of times I want meat, or I want this specific sugar. It's not that, it's candida, or it's parasites in your gut, making you think the thought in the context I want. So our holistic mind, when you tell a story, ideally you're engaged in such a visceral way of telling a story, method acting, or really good movies do a great job moving from A to B, the whole movie, moving you through a process of many emotions and many thoughts and many feelings and like you have to think about how would I react in that situation, like even subconsciously, but it's doing this holistically. So a good storyteller does this to a person. They know that. Now you can use that medium however you want. Are you trying to help them be more themselves and be more healed and whole and whatever that means for them? Or are you trying to master, because they talk about in the Bible, they picture Satan as this master orator. And when he inhabits the Antichrist, the end time, that he will just masterfully orate in such a way the whole world will just be sold.
Mesmerized.
Right? Mesmerizing. Okay, but that's true. There's truth, and it's not like he's magic and mystic. There's energy there. Right? Magic Satan powers can just mesmerize the whole world. There's more than that. It is science. It's an understanding of neurology and the way he's speaking and the intonation, the cadence, what he's projecting, also the etherical part, but that comes from inside of him, understanding those dynamics and how to reshape the neurology with his voice. It's just smart, right? So, Jesus does the same thing, or anybody else that speaks a good story.
What is it? The storytelling is just, it's metaphors for giving basic information. You use metaphors instead of telling somebody, touch the fire, it's going to burn you. You tell a story about how somebody tripped and fell into the fire. So you're giving basic facts, that's just knowledge, information, but you're using metaphors to tell the story. And that's how you get more interaction and more, like that guy we were watching, we were talking about, his job is to make sure he sees his students' eyes light up. Like that's when he knows he's being a good teacher. Not that they're playing good music, but that when they're there learning, they're bright-eyed and like, and intrigued and engaged in what he's doing. And like that's what metaphors will do. It'll give you something to relate to, because you can grasp a metaphor being more relatable than a basic strict fact or information. All rigid and sterile, and you know what I mean. Turn the nut 45 degrees at a 13 thing. Most people are going to be like, I don't know, but if you tell a story, you'll get a more audience. So that's the art of metaphor telling, or something like that.
The art of storytelling.
The art of storytelling, but using metaphors.
Using metaphors. Well, so like, it's interesting too. So I think these come up over time. I think I've told you, but there's two like primary prayers that I've had, pretty core prayers most of my life, or when I prayed them for seasons of my life, like I prayed it till I felt like it anchored in, or it's still a desire. Ooh, we should talk about values and virtues too. Anyway. And one of them is to find humor with every person that I'm interacting with, right? Find whatever level of humor they find funny. It's so nuanced, man. Everybody finds different things funny. So even the staunchiest people, right, can find the most obscure stuff funny.
Squanchiest?
Squanchiest. The staunchiest people, bro. Staunchiest.
All I could think of is squanchy.
Squanch. Ew, stop, Beth. Don't ever say that word again.
Yeah. I really squanch my family.
So if you can find humor, though, then there's a doorway to conversation, even if it's just a short interaction, right? Find some way to be humorous. It's always a risk, too, because if you go it's on a stretch to say something, they're like, really now, they don't think that's funny, and they don't like you, right?
That's a win-win as far as love-hate. It's all obsession.
When you finally make the choice to try something funny, or you just try and it happens, and it just goes wrong, oh, well, it is what it is, right? But, like, when you're conscious engagement with someone, you're trying, even subconsciously, I want to find some level of humor with this person, even in small talk, right? To get past the stupid small talk.
You do that consciously, I do that subconsciously.
That's what I mean, though. But because it's a value of yours and mine at some level of engagement with another person, to find a level of humor, because humor's neutral.
Well, humor is also
and elevating.
It's elevating. It makes even like when I'm the most irritated and most pissed off. Once I get around that curve and get to the laughter part of laughing at how stupid it is and how mad I'm getting at something, that it's like it doesn't neutralizes out. It flattens the playing field in the plane, and you're like, oh, okay.
So again, humor is a tool that's amoral. So there are. I mean, think about it. Just I'm trying to go full spectrum here because you and I are on the other side of the spectrum more so where it's positive.
What, for dark humor?
Yeah, no, not even for dark humor, for dark agended purposes.
Oh, okay.
Oration, right? Humor at the right time. It draws people in. It elevates everything. It's interesting. So like, it's finding humor with somebody, and then also the other one. Shoot, what else are you talking about?
Virtues and...
Ooh, values and virtues. I don't know what I was saying, but I'm good at finding rabbit trails and coming back.
Yeah, so you usually come back.
Put a pin in
that. We're going to put a pin in that, put it over there.
But since you said values and virtues...
You said values and virtues.
Let's see what time we got.
Oh,
we're at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, can you feel... as a separate conversation, then we'll get to values and virtues.
The temperature in this room, yes, it's cold.
Oh. Problem solved.
I never get cold either.
And my back is right to the one heater.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm cool.
I got plenty of meat on me. I'm good.
Shoot, what was I saying? And the values and virtues. Put a pin in the other thing. There's one other comment I was going to make, and I totally lost it. Oh, this I was going to ask. Okay, that's why I was breaking the fourth wall here.
Okay.
That's why it went too many dimensions with things I was pinning. All right. So do you notice a shift at different times when you feel more naturally engaged with me versus knowing the camera's there? Because most of the time I know the camera's there. It's interesting.
Oh, it's funny.
I'm aware.
I'm completely like it. It in itself is an entity, and we talked about that, or somebody talked about. I don't know who sat down with you or had chopped it up with you about going through an entity experience with the camera there. Because the camera in itself is an entity, and when you're around any entity, you respond differently. So with that being said, when it's not there, I don't mind. Or like when I know it's there. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. If it's running and I don't know, it doesn't bother me. But if I know it's there and it's running, I act differently. And it's literally because it's another entity. But it'd be like, an entity hiding in the shadows. I would be myself I would normally. But if it jumped out from the shadows and was like, aha, I got you, I'd be like, oh, cool, not a big deal. So it's like one of those things. So I don't know why it makes me shift when it's on, because it's like another person. It's like you want to join it in on the conversation.
Yeah.
So I find myself looking at the camera and not at you a lot of the times too.
Well, it's interesting too because it's different when it's live video versus pre-recorded.
Yeah.
That will be seen. Yeah, because I've just noticed the dynamic because I'm going through all these processes, which should be subconscious. For me, apparently they're conscious more than they should be, but they just are. So I'm constantly aware of, but it's not disrupting my thought. It's just adding to my refining of what I'm saying or how I'm saying it. So I'm aware that the camera's there. I'm aware that dialogue you and I are having. I'm maybe adding details that you already know because we hang out so much anyway that I wouldn't add otherwise, and that's okay. That's relevant. So I'm like processing.
It's a good refresher for me too.
Yeah, and then keeping like a third entity if we're trying to keep them on track, and it's not such a private conversation they can't follow certain lines of thought because we've had so much conversation prior to this.
It'd be like telling an inside joke on a live stream. Most people. Fuck.
Okay. Now the other part, I think this is part of the inner work awareness thing over time. And other people, if they know they're on camera, maybe they would say a joke they wouldn't normally say because they want to be funny, right? Okay. Or they want to little thing. They're very subtle. So I'm aware of the parts in me that because of that want to behave differently than trying to have a candid conversation, right?
It's funny because if this was just a radio recording without the video, without the black mirror, nobody would have any idea,
right?
Except for the little tone variation.
I'd have to say quote radio recording.
You'd have to say quote unquote
or whatever. Yeah.
I still don't use those properly, anyways. I use them sarcastically when you use them though? When I'm bullshitting Yeah, but I'm never literally quoting somebody.
But when you do it in funny ways. It's not just that, but little nuances where you say speech slightly incorrectly.
Yeah.
Right? Like we talked about Iowa.
Iowa, yes.
Which is true, or which actually is funny because Iowa, which the one of the more pure Hebrew names for Yahweh is Yahweh, and Iowa who's been around much longer than Yahweh. So it's interesting that you use that name and then also how that name connects to that entity in history. But sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
No, go.
I was just like had to like I'm like Iowa.
Ayahuasca.
Iowa.
Oh, and then the state Iowa.
Just trying to make them one word.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here you're merging. Yeah, ayahuasca.
Word splicing. I love word splicing.
Yeah, but it makes sense. So when you do it though, in certain ways, like a lot of times, so that is like exceptionally insightful. I may not have made that connection unless you had said it wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And repeatedly. Well, that's what's funny about it. You'd say, I'd watch you say it to other people, and I wouldn't say anything.
Like my homeboy in Hawaii, when I was there, and I did my dyslexic moment, I said Alaho instead of Aloha, and just fucking in stitches. He was just like loving it, and so he did it all the time to me. He'd be like, we'd be leaving instead of saying Aloha, he'd say Alaho, and he'd say it all like real country almost.
It's funny. I'm trying to remember. It's one of those I've had. I remember it. Okay, so it's the worst place for this to happen, and I was so because I'm usually really aware. I'm aware of innuendos. I mean, okay. Let me ask you. You've been with me long enough. You've been with me long enough, bro. Super gay.
Slut dragon.
Oh man. So you've been around me long enough. All right.
Yeah.
On a day in day out basis. We work together also, by the way. That's what we're talking about.
Good times.
So you've been along. Do you feel like I'm like naive, like a naive white boy?
No, I was saying that you have. I was actually having a thought while I was walking through one of our accounts, and it's this. It's like a childlike wonder, is what it is. It's enthusiasm, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily naive.
Yeah. So parse that. So what would make the fact that you thought of that as the first characteristic, even remotely close to what someone might call naive, is very interesting to me. So divide the difference between the two.
The childlike wonder and being naive.
Sure. Being
naive is like that's a hard one to define because I want to say it's knowing something's wrong but ignoring it. It's kind of how naive feels, or being involved in something and knowing nothing about it.
There you go.
And like that's kind of another way to define.
So I think
how
naive,
I think the word naive means.
So let me give you a definition, or more of a definition, fleshed out definition. So naivety is usually something someone has done or is doing or not doing because of their ignorance. It's not their fault. They're just naive. They literally have no. It's like somebody walking into a crocodile pit and they don't know there's crocodiles underwater.
Yeah.
It's naivety, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember the point I was leading up to before this.
You being naive,
right? But do you feel like because I know that childlike wonder there, I know it can be interpreted as naivety. So you've known me long. Honestly, do you feel like I'm naive, or I'm aware of the dangers or the circumstances I choose to behave in a way that may seem naive anyway? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, but we're all naive at points.
Yeah,
it's definitely. But you're definitely one that once you've been corrected on your naiveness, you don't take it with a grain of salt. You're like, oh, I was lost, but now I'm found.
Like you found at least 2 different ways to do things better than I do it at work.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. Not better, but
no, more efficient. Like
more efficient.
I told you they're better. That's my point. I'm adding to what you just said. Quickly, like noticing, like I had no idea you could do it that way. There's a better way to do it. Let's do that.
There's always another way, and it's just so you know, the shoe on the other foot, way bigger. So he's told me tons of different things that I was doing wrong from turning a wrench. So it's not as if I came in and I was like,
no.
I know it
come
all.
On, that's a given. Duh. Yeah, but the point is the things you add, and so I think that's fluidity in any relationship, work relationship, friendship, partnership. Even over time, roles change. You know, people go through, I don't know, what are the big life change? Menopause, but also less in the future. Even just pre and post babies people can be totally different. You know, or just go through massive hormonal changes, or traumas, life traumas, like earlier we were talking about, where that for years comes up and like makes life a nightmare for you and everyone in your family. You know, and that's a, well, that's interesting. I don't remember what that was all connected to, but it's all interesting.
It's all interesting.
Interesting.
The conductor, if you may.
Yeah, we learned how to connect this week too. Watched some cool videos.
We didn't learn how to, but we watched some videos.
Doesn't mean we can do it well. We learned how to conduct though. Doesn't mean we applied the lesson and passed the test.
We learned how it works.
Yes, but the 4-beat, 2, 3, 4,
the drop.
1.
They're not just up there like popping and locking and You know what I'm saying?
Although I would love to see a pop locker doing some conducting. Yeah, man, that would be awesome. That's something that I bet you we're gonna start seeing that. Watch, we've said it. It's in the ethers. I bet you that's gonna start showing up. Pop locking and conducting. That's cool.
Pop locking conductor.
Okay, what have you? Since we've watched videos, we haven't talked a lot about them. Well, granted, we pause them often to chat.
Wait. You pause them.
Whoa,
often.
you paused it twice this week.
Rarely.
Twice this week you paused. I remember because it's so rare.
Yes, I concur.
Okay, so what did you take from those videos, or like because watch a couple of those turning noise into music.
So I found out that like I like music and I listen to music and I hear music, but when it comes to like calling out music on its names, E flat, B sharp, I don't know any of that shit. You literally besides the symbols bass and treble on sheet music, I don't know anything else. Any of them. You could literally make a bunch of shit up and be like, here's, sheet music. And I go, yeah, here it is. Yeah, probably.
So what did you take from that? What did that teach you? Or what that help you see the sheet music visualize?
Well, no, yeah. It's just that hearing two people converse about something they do every day and it becoming, it's a language, like mathematicians talking to each other, using verbal, or not verbal, but using... like them using the phrases and the terms and calling them what they are.
Oh yeah,
and
like
the other person,
and like all that kind of stuff.
Interpreting it and knowing exactly what they're talking about. Me, on the other hand, they literally are speaking a foreign language. But I know music. I like when I hear it, I'm like, oh, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he hits G and like, but the nuance, the little differences between.
What are some of the paradigms though? Because like that drum chick, we didn't finish the whole video.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. She was deaf too, and that was what was amazing about that.
I couldn't tell if she was advocating for deaf music, or she also was deaf.
Almost got denied from a school in Europe for music arts, and they were like, she's you got rejected because she was deaf.
That's even more amazing. Even if she's a normal human, the way she articulated like musical paradigms and reference into life.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I don't want to sound arrogant when I say this, but what she was saying is like. I already knew that, and like the feeling of music. I knew this kid back in the day. I used to see him at raves and house parties, and he was deaf. And one day I asked him, he could speak, he could read lips, so I could communicate with him because I couldn't sign. But I asked him one day when I ran into him on the bus, because I was like, at a house party where I'm not gonna be like, what do you get out of this? But I got a minute to chop it up with him, and I asked him, and I was like, what do you get out of going to one of these besides all?
So you didn't have time to ask him, but you asked him.
Yeah, it was on the bus. It was a different time. Every time I ran into him,
Gotcha. Yeah.
Setting, right? Yeah, and totally. So I asked him, and he explained it to me that he goes. Obviously, the light shows are beautiful. We all like that, but the bass from these jungle and these drum and bass shows, it was just like it would vibrate your clothes. So if it's doing that to me, and that's something he can feel music. Fucking, he was getting a better show than I was.
Wow.
Honestly,
yeah, no doubt.
He literally could feel every note coming out of the speaker.
Okay, now synesthesia.
Synesthesia, not anesthesia.
I'm lucky that I said it right the first time that time. I have a hard one with that too.
I'll help you fuck it up. That's like one of my things.
Yeah,
you say a really difficult word and then I try and say it and then now you're.
What's great though is you pull it back up in your own thought processes days or weeks later. That word, and even if you say it wrong, that's why you don't stop you, because you actually took what the word means though, and you're applying it in your own thought process. That's cool. It's cool to me to see that I introduced a word to your own vocabulary that you thought about in your own time, consciously or unconsciously. Yeah. And then it came out in your own expression, explaining something totally unique. It's cool.
It's good to have the word of the day.
Yeah, we tend to have a few. What was it the other day? You and Nick, it was quell that minutia.
Yeah, quell.
If I'm going to combine them.
Quell that minutia.
He said minutia at one point. You said quell. That awesome text at the end.
Yeah.
Wrapped it up, tied it in. That's what we were talking about. We're so in the moment.
Yeah,
let's blame it on being so spiritual. We're so in the moment.
we were talking, the being able to feel the music.
Okay, synesthesia. That's what it was.
Synesthesia. Never mind.
So it's a synthesizing of your anesthesia. Your nervous system. I was trying to connect them. I don't know what the Latin is on that.
Synthesizing your nervous system?
Synthesizing your synesthesia.
This is what anesthesia is like.
Of your nervous system, I guess. I don't know Latin or anything on it, but so it's crossing over. So normally we think your optical nerve goes in, or your eighth cranial nerve, which is your through your ears, that goes in a certain pathway that interprets or sparks signals in certain ways in your neurology, so you perceive sound and tone and pitch and all that kind of stuff. But then when you just literally through conscious meditation can learn to, because it's the same sound waves that went in your ear went in your eyes, right? But you have different receptors in your eyes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We have different
Even
senses.
though light acts as a particle in a wavelength.
But that also vibrates on your skin, like the bass.
Yeah.
Right? But when his ears aren't working, he naturally, this happens, I know this happens neurologically, naturally. The point is you can do it like Wim Hof through breathing. Some people, you know, like they go into hypothermia, but he, through breathing, did what was supposed to be, he literally redefined the automatic nervous system. Some aspects of the automatic nervous system are actually part of the nervous system we can control through breath, which they didn't know that before. It's been in all the ancient texts, oral traditions forever, but science didn't know it. Now they do. He's changed the actual science books on that with like 50 world records and repeating this over and over. We've seen some of his videos.
Yeah.
So in the same way, synesthesia, it's not as unconscious as people think. The cue should be when you lose a sense, the other one's heightened. Well, why can't you just do that normally? Why can't you tap into your heart and the neurology in your gut and your whole body, like Paul Stamets talks about with the niacin and the peripheral nervous system protocol for sending the mycelium and all the other aspects that benefit your nervous system to every aspect of your nervous system, which literally makes you more perceptive to feel music like he felt it. Because it's like he, on some level, has a superpower, right? By taking away a normal
it's such
power.
it's such a like it's always exaggerated when it comes to superheroes. It's like we're all superpowers, we all have those, but usually they don't come out until you get put in some extraordinary position, like having sight your whole
Dumped in a
life,
vat of toxic waste,
and then you lose your sight, and then you become this amazing fucking, you know, this superhero that can, you know, basically can see in the dark.
You know what I want to see?
Better than, you know, somebody who can see in the light.
I want to see a superhero come out. Maybe they have one. There's this like
just a regular guy. Just
no, but like activates his powers through meditation.
They probably have already done that.
And it could be cheesy. It could be done stupid. But I'm trying to think of the principle. Like any power, but Green Lantern-esque. Any power he can conceive. He gets in a situation. She gets in a situation that nothing they've ever activated in themselves has ever worked before.
Isn't that with the Doctor Strange? The comic books about meditation.
Oh yeah, true. Like, no, true enough. Fair enough.
Like
fair enough. Totally.
The astral realm.
That's a great example. Now now think about that. So his journey brought him to this role as protector of the time stone and of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so within that role, he was still always learning and magic and different things, but he was in that role. So there's mystics, if you will, or people like this in the Christian church and the Muslim church and all the faiths who are activating in their own ways, but they will always stay in that realm. Now he's obviously can do more than interdimensional stuff, and he does, but I think so. Activating through meditation and like Captain America, no, not Captain. What's the other one? Not Supergirl. The chick who's Captain America turns into the on fire chick. It's a new movie that just came out in the last year or two. How can you... Come on, help me out here. What is it? You know what I'm talking about?
Captain Marvel?
Yes, Marvel.
Jesus Christ.
He just said
the
something.
The chick that turns on fire? I'm like...
Come on.
I'm like a Human Torch with a dude.
I said Captain America.
Yeah.
Same thing, Marvel. Okay, so... remember when she's falling to the earth? So she already activated a lot of her superpowers. Yeah. Right? And then she's falling to the earth. And she's gonna die at that point. What does she do? She closes her eyes, goes to this place of inner stillness. To me, I'm reading into that more, activates something in her own DNA from her own internal stillness and awareness, and then she opens her eyes, and her eyes are on fire, and she turns into the fire chick. Yeah. A whole upgrade, if you will, to your own DNA, your own epigenetic expression, which they know we have control over by our thoughts. So, you can meditate, and then any situation you come into, in that moment, she's fallen to the ground. She had to come up with a new power, in a sense, to handle the situation. Where did it come from? It came from her. Now, in the show, it came from her being mixed with that engine and whatever. Yeah. But to me, that's the catalyst in most superhero stories, that all it does is activate your own DNA. It's all inside of us already.
X-Men have a thing with that. What's his Apocalypse? That's DC. What is his name? Maybe one of the X-Men movies about him. But he could magnify their power. Yeah. So he could turn on the DNA that's already in them and make it fucking full bore, super powerful.
Okay, and so they've been doing that with esoteric systems forever too. They'll groom people, or they'll traumatize people from birth, pre-birth, generationally, reincarnationally, and then if you don't believe in that, just the first 7 years of life, traumatizing them, making them super
Deadpool.
soldiers.
That's what they did to Deadpool's character. He
A lot
got
of them.
tortured until his superpower came out.
Well, a lot of them, all the assassins, it's in the Marvel movies too. When he's going around the cage and he's saying those words, those ancient words, as the alarms going off.
The Red Soldier,
him, right?
The Winter Soldier.
So it activates programs they put into you from a young age that they've mastered for thousands of years. Like, this is all easily provable. It's what's happened with politicians and the pedophiles. They're all part of it. They've all been in it. You know, some need to have more grace than others. But anyhow, so when we reach that, those systems, they found ways to enhance those powers. Once they know they've traumatized you and you're in their control, then enhance your psychic powers or whatever it is, and to do whatever they want done. So the thing is, I think when some super soldiers leave that construct, they lose some of their powers. But when you realize that it's the same Captain Marvel thing. It's your power, man. They had a regulator on you, bro.
That's exactly. That thing on their neck wasn't giving you power.
Here's the problem is, if you're so traumatized now that you're bitter and angry and vicious, and now you just go use that for your own destruction.
Yeah, you Brightburn.
Yeah. So there are people like that out there. There's those, though, who have realized that own power and have used it to heal themselves and forgive and to release and to set up protection for them and their families and to take down those systems. You know, it's all about choice. What do you do with your awareness?
What do you do with your responsibility of having greatness?
Awareness of your greatness. Because you may have greatness. We all do. We're not aware of it. We think we just find our role in life to
I'm
be
okay
happy.
being mediocre. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm cool with that too.
I don't need to shoot for the stars, hit the mountain. I'm cool. I'm mountaintop. I'm all right.
Well, mediocre. You're always going to be mediocre to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, you're always going to be too much to somebody. You're always going to be perfect to somebody.
You're always going to be the villain in someone else's story.
You're always going to be a son to a mom figure, a mom that adopts you or loves you like a son. You know, you're always going to be some crystalline image that is true about you. It's just not all of you. It's all about perception.
Me and my brother were the good ones. Like, I specifically, my late grandma who just passed, she, like, out of all of the grandkids, I was the one that was, like, the most what's the word, innocent, I guess you could say, or didn't get in trouble. And I am the absolute worst. I should have been the black fucking sheep. Literally. I just didn't let grandma know. She didn't even know about any of that. So I let her crystallize me in this little this image.
See, and that's kindness. Like, in a lot of ways, it's kindness to do that. You know, you don't have to, like, this whole last year I've been springing out into just, like, blasting whatever I am on anybody and everybody that'll receive it, right? Trying to process things.
Dude, turn those headlights down, bro.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't apologize. Don't ever apologize for that. You shine on, you crazy diamond.
Right. So, but that coming into balance, where, you know, like, my grandma is so wonderful. I've had so many conversations with her about all this stuff, and she listens, and she's told me at times, she goes, you know, I don't follow most of what you're saying, but I really like how passionate you are about it and how it makes you happy. I'm like, thanks, Grandma. I don't ever want to ruin that.
That's a perfect grandma answer.
I know. I'm like, I don't ever want to ruin that. So what do I do not do with my grandma? I do not use the F word around my grandma ever. Right? Because that, in her perspective of me, that really shifts things.
How does she feel about the word poop?
I don't know, Grandma. How do you feel about poop? I don't know if she'll see this one. I was going to be aware of that, too. Like, my grandma might see this.
Yeah, uh-oh.
Well, I'm saying good things. It's true, though. And that's true with anybody in our life, that you find a level of allowing yourself to be to them whatever they think you are to them. That's fine. As long as it's not drawing excessively on you when you have to be passive-aggressive or people are...
Walk on eggshells. I don't do that shit anymore.
Yeah,
I don't walk on eggshells for anybody anymore.
Yeah.
If I want to come home and let my gut out and leave my boots in the middle of the floor, like, I'll move them, but I'm not gonna, like, freak out and be like, oh, I can't leave them there because she's gonna yell at me. No.
That being
that's happening in your life. You cut that shit out right now.
Yeah. Well, and then the balance in between that too. It's like, you know, obviously conversations, whatever. You know, you just want to do that, and she learns that, and she's fine with that because you're gonna pick them up in half an hour or whatever, or. If it really bothers her, you just know ahead of time. And you just don't put your boots there if that's the only thing, and do everything else you want to do. Whatever the flow is in that anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, but totally. You can't walk on eggshells either, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are we at? Wow. I feel like we talk about a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
All right, we can wrap it up if you want.
Wrap it up, B. Does the shirt make me look fat?
Yeah, get your boots off my floor, too.
Are they on the
No,
floor?
I'm just kidding because you just said.
Fuck your ride.
All right. Thanks for chatting with us. That's the third entity in our conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And let me know if I need a haircut or not.
Oh yeah, I say no. Show them the side and the back.
Oh, it's
Your little hat haired up right now.
Going on. Oh, it's
look at that
sweet.
Textured like Norwegian hair. He should grow that out.
Yeah. Get my ancestry
that
back.
Long beard going again.
I gotta look into more of that, because I know there's a lot of cultures. The Native American Indians specifically, there is an extension of their soul. But if I remember right, the Viking and the Nordic and that whole Scandinavian heritage bloodline,
sure.
That's a huge part of theirs too, as well. The beard and the hair.
You know, it'd be interesting because when did you have your hair long last?
15, 16, I don't know.
Okay, so
20 years ago.
To grow it out again, because it's my understanding that the Buddhists, part of why they shave their heads every so often is because they know every length of hair is a different antenna frequency to different aspects of your own neurology, your nervous system, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And so each time they shave, they go through those layers again, but now they've learned things since then. They've grown, they've developed. And so now when you're going through that frequency, you're going to experience the same input in a sense, like turning on a receiver on a whatever, but you have more awareness and life experience now that that input will make more sense, or you'll know what to do with it, or it'll be more usable for your life or something.
Oh, okay, you know? Gotcha.
And so you regrowing your hair now at each stage, allowing it to reconnect to the time in your life when it was that long before, and find some level of upgrading that experience.
It was usually because I got punished by cutting my haircut. I had long hair. They didn't know what to do with my wild ass, so they're like, cut his hair, and they like cut my hair like up here, gave me this like mop top, kind of like I have now, but it was really bad, and it was hella traumatic for me. Like that point in my life, my hair was part of my like religion, and like, you know, like that's what I wanted, long hair.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then when I got cut, it did a good I learned a good lesson. I was like, all right, I got to learn. I got better at not getting caught. That was literally what I would have. Was like, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing, but yes, I will learn better and how to not leave a path behind me.
Wow. Interesting. So we honor the lessons we learn those things. At the same time, we can see where like the trauma, the legitimate trauma that causes. And I'm not talking about the decision like, what else were we going to do with him? I don't care about that. The point is it happened and you learned some lessons from it that benefited your life. But there were traumas that in your nervous system being violated. That's my hair. I don't care if I'm your child. Like that's my hair. For a punishment? What the fuck? You know, it's my hair. Like there's a trauma there that is relevant. So it's just interesting to think about, even if you regrow your hair again, possibly growing in certain ways, it's a placebo belief catalyst, an actual dynamic that helps to grow out and move on that trauma in a new way, or heal it by regrowing it and then choosing to cut it when you want to cut it.
I think I'm going to go for a mohawk next.
Yeah.
That's what I think I'm going to do.
Full mohawk or like this shave one side thing?
Oh, one side? No, I don't know. I think I'm going to go full.
Yeah? Cool.
Spike that shit up.
I'm digging it.
I got this right now. It kind of looks like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Mine's, I definitely need a shower. Mine's getting way oily.
It was funny how we turned this. All right, we're going to sign off. Wait.
Yeah.
Hair.
Hey, look at our hair. All right. Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye.